Since the playoff expansion of 16 different teams able to compete for a championship, there's actually been just as much upsets for 8 seeds knocking off number 1 compared to 7 beating number 2. How's it going, guys? My name's Wilson. Looking at the last 10 playoffs, many had the Nets upsetting Boston after a disaster of a ridiculous mandate that derailed the Nets regular season, swept cleanly by the Celtics every game close, but couldn't even get a single win, made them the biggest first round travesties of 2022, while the Timberwolves lost to the better Grizzlies in a competitive 6 games. Call Towns absolutely doo-doo in case you forgot. 2021, Brooklyn over a depleted 7 seed Boston in 5, the Big Three at the peak of their powers before injuries, while the so-called Laker favorites to beat the 51-21 Suns. To all the Laker fans believing their team would have beaten Phoenix had AD not been hurt, forgot about how banged up Chris Paul was, couldn't play the last 2 minutes of Game 2 when score was tied. LA lost the last 2 by a combined 43 points and both clearly the best player that series. 2020, no upsets. Toronto swept the Kyrie and Durant-less Nets to shambles, averaging a whopping 126.3 points, outscoring Caris LeVert and Timothy Cabarrone's Nets by a combined 72 points, while the Clippers beat Lucas Mavs in 6. Last 2 games were blowouts. 2019, Toronto over weak Orlando in 5, while many picked against the number 2 Nuggets, where San Antonio. Series did go 7 games. Murray and Jokic, despite their youth, prevailed over the more experienced Spurs. 2018, Boston in 7 over 7 plays Milwaukee, a 23-year-old Giannis versus the better Kyrie-less Celtics. Golden State 2 seed without Curry, no problem, easily beat Spurs round 1, while 2017 Cleveland swept 7 plays Indiana, all close games. That was the last we ever seen from Monte Ellis in the NBA. San Antonio over Memphis, a competitive 6-game series. Prime Mike Conley versus the best version of Kawhi Leonard went at it. 2016, number 2 Toronto over Indiana, a drooling 7-game series. San Antonio sweeps Memphis easily, no Conley or Gasol. 2015, Cleveland over Boston, easy sweep. Harden eliminates Dallas, a disgruntled Rondo butted heads with Rick Carlisle, quit on that series. 2014, not surprising to see another LeBron-led team. Miami destroyed 43-win Bobcats, a cakewalk sweep. The loaded West, 50-win Memphis, took OKC to 7. One of the most forgotten 7 vs 2 matchups of the 2010s. Game 2 to 5, all decided in overtime. Randolph suspended Game 7 for punching Steven Adams. A series Durant averaged over 46 minutes versus a prime Tony Allen. One of the better 7 seeds we've seen. 2013, New York in 6 over an old Boston team. Of course, San Antonio destroying the Kobe-less Lakers with the whiny Dwight Howard. All of these 20 series, none of the 7 seeds happened to upset number 2. After the expansion from 6 to 8 playoff qualifiers from each conference, starting in 1984, there's been 136 total matchups between the first vs 8 and 2 vs 7, and only 10 total times have a 7 or 8 seed knocked off either number 2 or 1. Goes to show it's just as hard for the 7 seed to knock off 2. The first 8 seed to upset number 1, starting with the 1994 Denver Nuggets, 42 wins versus Gary Payton and Sean Kemp's 63-win heavy contenders. The best of 5 first-round series, one of the few reasons why a best of 7 would be changed a decade later. The Sonics locker room issues with Payton and Ricky Pierce fought halftime of Game 1. Defensive specialist Mutombo held Kemp to under 15 and 10 on 37% shooting, more blocks than the whole Seattle team combined. The streaky shooting of Reggie Williams, LaFonso Ellis, and Rodney Rogers got hot at the perfect time. After 3 straight blowouts, Seattle a chance to close out Game 4, 112 of 21 from the line. Mutombo 8 blocks Game 5, an overtime stunner, the definition of a perfect matchup series for Denver. Seattle too relying upon driving to the paint against one of the greatest rim protectors all time. Their limited half-court offense with Dikembe, the perfect guy to shut down Kemp, bench igniters, Robert Pack's outside shooting, and the late great Bison Dele provided sparks. Rockets fans super relieved Seattle lost round 1, avoided the Sonics both their title runs. Peyton and Nate McMillan vital locking down Houston's perimeter guys, the team that beat them in 93 and 96. Next 8 vs 1 upset, 1999 50-game lockout year. Safe to say, New York likely wouldn't have finished 8th for an 82-game season, just 6 games behind number 1 Miami anyway. One of the few seasons seedings wasn't that big a deal. Combined with an injured Patrick Ewing, a rejuvenated Latrell Sprewell, fresh start with a new team, and Allen Houston's game winner Game 5. One of the most overqualified 8th seed in a shortened season, eventually went to the NBA Finals, followed by the we believe still to this day arguably the greatest upset of all time, but many who knew the game wasn't too shocked. 25 win difference. Warriors coach Don Nelson exploited all of Dirk's weaknesses, whom he coached for 7 years. Dallas might have won every other series against the other 28 different teams, but lost each game to Nelly's dubs. Coach Avery Johnson tried to go small, removed Derek Dampier from the lineup, who helped Dallas go 64-9 in regular season lineup. Baron Davis' quickness gave Dallas problems, putting 6'8" Steven Jackson on Nowitzki, Michael Petrus, Al Harrington, and Matt Barnes, all the different bodies drawn at him, quick lengthy guys who could move, crowded his space, ran his mouths out the gym, getting doubled constantly. This series made Nowitzki a way better player in the coming postseasons after winning the most depressing MVP all time. 2011, 46-win Grizz over 61-win San Antonio, the lowest point in the Duncan era, the birth of the grit and grind era. Ginobili a broken elbow, just like Golden State Dallas 4 years prior. Many Spurs fans worried about the Grizz matching up well. Memphis arguably dropped their last 2 games intentionally to keep the number 8 seed, matching up with San Antonio. Given the Spurs' transition year, going from slow-paced defensive style to happy pass offense, Memphis got physical. Randolph banged down low with Duncan. Timmy had a bad knee all season. Given San Antonio's chemistry, winning more than expected in regular season, many didn't take their record as seriously, not being a typical 8 seed with young Mike Conley, a stable OJ Mayo, injured Rudy Gay, Marc Gasol an all-star the following year, and Tony Allen with Shane Battier sharing defensive duties. Not your normal 8 seed, these Grizz took OKC to 7 in the following round. 2012 Philadelphia over Chicago. This upset nobody talks about. It's not really an upset due to the Bulls losing Derrick Rose, the tragic ACL tear game 1, the final minute when the game already a wrap. Sixers no superstars, but had 21-year-old Drew Holiday, 28-year-old Iggy, 23-year-old Evan Turner, Spencer Haas 23, Elton Brand 32. Off the bench, a young Lou Will, Dad Young, and an unknown 21-year-old Nikola Vucevic who didn't play in the series. After Rose got hurt, Chicago's offense struggled mightily, held to just 80.6 points the next 5 games after dropping 103 with their MVP. No one else averaged more than 14 points for the series. A huge blow to their inspiring title hopes. Perhaps the saddest first round series we ever seen. Now on to the 7 seeds knocking off number 2. The 4th season since the league expanded the postseason to 16 squad, the 39-win Seattle Sonics 1987 did the improbable, even proving legendary Red Auerbach wrong.
The most disappointing team in the NBA will be?
The most disappointing team? Well, I think it might be Seattle. I think it would surprise me if they don't finish anything but last.
The only team in the history of the league having 3 guys average over 23 points. Sharpshooter Dale Ellis, 3 decades ahead of his time. Forgotten athlete Tom Chambers, plays like the modern day Lauri Markkanen before Markkanen even born, and the hard-nosed physical Xavier McDaniel, all of whom played 82 games but somehow finished under 500. Chambers, the lone all-star on that team, won MVP for the West. No team with a losing record had won a single playoff series since that point. X-Man, the lone great defender on the team, got super hot when all the shots fall. 2nd seed Dallas, led by Mark Aguirre and Rolando Blackman, having Sam Perkins, Derek Harper, and Ron Tarpley. Seattle gave up 151 points game 1, but won the next 3. Dallas beat the Sonics all 5 regular season matchups, but Ellis averaged an incredible 29.5 points and 8 rebounds for the series, 56% shooting. Chambers 24.5 points, 56%, and McDaniel 23, 9.5 boards. Every other Sonic averaged single digits. Ellis, a revenge series, traded from the Mavs. Seattle then went on, upsetting the previous year's Western Conference champions Rockets, but with only superstar Hakeem. Ralph Sampson played but became injury prone, already a shell of himself by then. Key players Lewis Lloyd and Mitchell Wiggins banned from the league. Ellis and Chambers propelled their team to a 6-game series win. Dale a spectacular 28.5 a game, Chambers over 25, a shocking upset before getting swept by the eventual champion Lakers. Only longtime Sonic fans can truly tell you how special this 87 team was. Next, 7th seed to knock off happened just 2 years later. 1989 Golden State knocking off number 2 Utah, led by Chris Mullin and Tim Hardaway. The first lower seed to sweep a top seed in first round, led by St. John's basketball legend Chris Mullin and high-scoring shooting guard Mitt Richmond. Mullin averaged nearly 33, 5 and 5 on nearly 55% shooting, dominating Karl Malone and Stockton's Jazz. Richmond nearly 26 points, Terry Teagle over 19. A golden turnaround story. Coach Don Nelson's run-and-gun offense increased the team's win to a 23-game improvement, a 43-win team. Off the bench, 7-7 Manute Bol averaged 6 blocks for the series. Many thought Utah was the one to sweep after Golden State finished the regular season on a 6-game losing streak, but the unstoppable Mullin netted 41 the first game. Richmond 30, stealing 2 in Salt Lake. Dubs 29 and 12 regular season home team with a 14-point home win game 3. Next round, Warriors lost to the 55-win Phoenix Suns. How about a similar version, repeating the improbable? Golden State simply no stranger to beating higher seed teams in the first round. The Run TMC trio of Mullin, Hardaway, and Richmond 2 years later knocked off 1991 San Antonio, 44 wins versus 55. A heavy perimeter-oriented offense, starting 4 perimeter guys, all of whom would take at least 9 threes in today's NBA. Mario Elie plugged in with TMZ, plus Lithuanian sensation Sarunas Marciulionis versus big athletic giants 7-1 David Robinson. Spurs dropped 130 points game 1 win, but Golden State forced 5 turnovers game 2 from Robinson. Team shot 57% game 3, Hardaway 32 to close out. Robinson shrank just 18 points on 6 turnovers the final game, despite the Spurs defense with role players Sean Elliott, Terry Cummings, Ron Strickland, and Willie Anderson couldn't keep up with Golden State's shooting abilities. Cummings got cooked in transition. Golden State kept doubling the bigs down low, a forgotten masterpiece of a coaching series done by the legendary Don Nelson, who absolutely deserves his props for being a small ball visionary. Run and gun offense success. The NBA should absolutely thank Nelly, being decades ahead of his time. While San Antonio's loss not that humiliating, since Robinson in year 2, still very young, would end up being one of the most competitive teams throughout the 90s. Run TMZ eventually separated after 91, went on to lose to Magic's Lakers the following round. 1998, the epic New York Knicks, first team to ever become a 7 and 8 seed, upsetting number 2 and number 1, only squad besides Golden State to do both. A bloodbath battle, tensions flared, massive brawls, beef with Pat Riley, a hampered Ewing, main reason why New York won just 43 games. The Heat 55 wins. After a trip to the Eastern Conference Finals the previous year, knocked off New York in the semis. Both teams 2-2 head-to-head regular season. The infamous Game 4 fight between Larry Johnson and Alonzo Mourning. A nasty altercation, both suspended game 5. Ewing didn't play in the series. Knicks ended up winning 3-2, led by Allen Houston's 23-point average, Hardaway 26 a game, Mourning over 19 and 8. Miami destroyed 98-81 without him the final game. Little Jeff Van Gundy getting stuck in between the players, drawing a fight way more remembered than any single play that happened in the series. Many now know that was one of the rare 7 vs 2 matchups. 4 straight postseasons between these teams doesn't get any more dramatic than that. 2010, a loaded West, 1 and 8 separated by just 7 games, but only 5 separated both Dallas and San Antonio. Although we remember the Kobe Pau Gasol finals teams, the West extremely tough during this era. After a Dallas Game 1 win, San Antonio snatched the next 3, Spurs Big 3 with role players Richard Jefferson, Antonio McDyess, George Hill, and Duane Blair. Dallas had their key guys on the 2011's team, but not Tyson Chandler. Eric Dampier still the starting center. Thank God they got rid of him. Nowitzki averaged 27 on 55% for the series, but no match for the better balanced Spurs. Dallas' third first-round loss in 4 years, had an interesting offseason, old and running on fumes. Just 13 months later, the unthinkable happened. All that losing ignited Nowitzki to become the best version of himself. The best possible outcome happened. Tim Duncan winning any first round series shouldn't be considered an upset at all. His lowest amount of wins in an 82-game season. Remember, Duncan never won below 50 games in a full season, while a John Wall-led team never even won 50. After Eric Dampier gone, Mavs fans finally a breath of fresh air. San Antonio ended up getting swept by Phoenix in the semis, didn't truly compete for a championship till trading for Kawhi Leonard 2011 draft day. In the 136 total series between 1 vs 8 and 2 vs 7, an upset occurs for the lower seed at a 7.3% chance. That's less than 10%. showing how rare these upsets actually happen. We know how dangerous the Lakers can be, not a typical 7th seed with a healthy team, but history is simply not on their side. The question is, can they last throughout the series? Where's a hungry, young, fast Memphis team? But with no Steven Adams, no Brandon Clark, the chemistry with the key players been together for a couple years, anything short of a second round exit would be highly disappointing for the Grizz. While the Lakers do have a chance, should be a long series, while Atlanta likely don't have much of a chance versus the Celtics, Denver likely good enough at number 1, and Milwaukee, just put them in the second round already. Remember, no team being lower than the 6th seed has ever won a championship or even came close. Of these 10 teams that upsetted the higher seed in round 1, only 2 of these squads, the 1987 Sonics and the 1999 New York Knicks, made it past the second round. That's 2 in a 1/36 chance, around 1.5%. Thanks so much for watching this video. Love to get your thoughts in the comments below. See you next time.